So here we are on Sunday. All my friends, ladies and gentlemen out there, far and wide, just back from my favourite church of my christening, the London Oratory, a very beautiful Mozart Mass. And I'm reminded with my rosary, as a very devout, loyal, betrayed Roman Catholic, of the wonderful times doing prison aftercare in Newland House for the Catholic Prisoner Social Services. And this was one of their gifts to me. It's Spanish, which I think to remind me of my Spanish mama. So, I think with pleasure back to those days. And sadly, by 1978, in fact, after my father's strange demise, a decree of nullity of ratification was issued against me by the Birmingham Matrimonial Tribunal. This is called Roman Catholic canon law, which is very, very powerful in Europe especially, and has an impact on civil law here. I was declared mad, and I've been fighting ever since to have this appeal and the rescindment of this dreadful, dreadful document. Two of the judges are still alive. A canon law lawyer in Rome found all the evidence to say, declaring me mad. And he writes to the canon lawyers at the Vatican and in Birmingham, at the Cathedral, and in Westminster, here at the Roman Catholic Cathedral. I am writing to, I think the spectacles might help. The operation is going to be on Friday, but I gather I brought all these events upon myself. I'll tell you how. I'm writing to request documentation in the matter of my client, the Honourable Julia Camoys Stonor, Julia Maria Cristina. In 1978, Miss Stonor Camoys was summoned to the Westminster courts in regard to an annulment with her husband, which resulted in a verdict of insanity. At which point I'll tell you that Donald, who was a very honourable man, did not agree that he had his hands forced by my mother, Jeanne Stourton. My client, Julia Camoys Stonor, claims that she has never been given proper documentation in regards to the matter of her nullity. Canon law states that documentation must, I emphasise, must be readily available to both parties involved. I understand that the issue was many years ago. However, my client should have the privilege of reviewing material relating to her case. Please send any records you have to the above address in Rome at your earliest convenience. Also feel free to contact me via telephone with any questions. This letter has never been answered by the ecclesiastical authorities, and I feel deeply betrayed and extremely sad. There is a further letter making clear that Miss Julia Camoys Stonor has suffered tremendously due to the grave error made at Westminster Tribunal, declaring her ill and possessing an incapacity. This in turn, which is false, caused the sentence of her nullity. Nevertheless, the detrimental effects of the charge of incapacity, insanity, with canonic law, has affected my client's relationship with all family, including her mother and you. Thus, the nullity of her marriage has had damaging effects among everybody in her society. Therefore, I am considering the current position of Mrs. Julia Camoys Stonor to avoid that the above-mentioned prejudicial and disadvantageous effects continued to damage all personal relationships with her. Moreover, Miss Camoys Stonor is indigent, contrary to the rest of the family. In the inheritance not received, and I might say at this point, this includes, most significantly, my legal, legitimate claim to my American grandmother, Mildred, Lady Camoys' settlement of 1961, as also to that of my great-grandmother, Sophia Augusta Brown, also Mrs. William Watts Sherman, of 1947. The lawyers refused to answer my letters. I have evidence that the will of Sherman Camoys was influenced. And then there's more here. But I think that gives you a summary of the whole. And then I have the certificate, as you've seen. The English Catholic hierarchy refused to release my documents, which are here in Allen Street, Kensington, because they don't want me to see the names of the witnesses, though I feel that I know, sadly, including my mother. Here is my godmother's letter, protesting on my behalf, but I'm not mad. Wonderful Infanta Maria Cristina, de Bourbon y Battenberg. Our most treasured family guardian. That was my children and myself. And here's a letter also from famous QC Michael Mansfield, from his chambers, Duke's chambers. He was prepared to help me with the abuse of my human rights. This letter is dated 4th of December 2003. And he points out there that he can give me no help unless I have, in the English system, a solicitor to present my case to a barrister. But he was prepared for me to do that. But I have no money. I have no money. So that's a sorry story for the moment, and I'm still trying, and will continue to try, to have this resolved correctly. Cardinal Hume, the late Cardinal Hume, signed the petition on my behalf, but it's been totally and absolutely ignored. I fear mostly from the English hierarchy. I was always courteously treated in Rome, and I had a witness to my many attempts to get this rescinded, and also compensation. I think I have another piece of paper. I think I'll flip to this. Perhaps we look at Stoner whilst I look for my... This is what is at stake, and here is the chapel where I went 2 or 3 Sundays ago for the first time since the tragic death and funeral of my beloved aunt Nadine. That was 2005, so I had an interesting morning. Let me see if I can find... This is very messy. I wouldn't look here whilst I search. Or this is the big prayer. Too many pieces of paper, apart because I have to do my accounts before I have this horrible operation. Well, sorry, not horrible, it's just demanding operation. I would have presented this piece of paper to Michael Mansfield because it points out if one's falsely declared insane, and I have a list of over 200 persons who've been informed of this insanity, then compensation on a large scale, especially after 37 years of such mendacity, should be paid to me. And this way, with my American grandmother's settlement, I could save the house which has been the home to my children and myself for 37 years. Bought, curiously enough, for less money than Stoner Park and its estates were sold for in the same year, 1977. And it's very significant that I was declared mad during the time of the court cases, and when I protested my father, Sherman Stonor, 6th Baron Camoys' cooked will. Signed by 2 gardeners, or gardener and his wife would be my nanny, who were then evicted from their tied cottage, or as being inconvenient. Curiously, my father appears to have been cremated, though in his will he specifically said he wishes I wish that my burial should be carried out with the full rites of the Roman Catholic Church, and it shall be as simple and inexpensive as possible, and that a small memorial plaque shall be put up at the expense of my estate in the chapel. I request that my body is buried outside the chapel. It is not asked to be cremated. And as I was away in America at the time, there was precisely nothing I could do about this. It was written on the day of 1974, when he was far too sick from the poisoning to make any such will. And to have 2 terrified tenants, employees, witness the will, only then to be evicted from their cottage and put into the back end of a council estate of Henley-on-Thames, is very, very cruel. And I certainly protested that at all points and got precisely nowhere, except to pay their poll tax. The messengers, Phyllis and Bill Messenger. And then I think you saw the prayer of my ancestor, Lady Cecily Stonor, who died in Reading Jail many hundreds of years before the hapless Oscar Wilde. It's a very beautiful, it's not even so much a prayer, it's a declaration of her integrity and commitment to the Roman Catholic faith. Although I'm not as brave as she, but she remains my inspiration. I think she is buried somewhere in the grounds of Reading Jail. I'm not quite sure that anyone's bothered to find out where she is. Well, now that I'm getting ready for this interesting experience in Moorfields on Friday, I'll do some cooking for somebody who's staying here. I have a diplomat coming on next Wednesday, actually, and I'm rather hoping that he will give me some help in this ordeal. So now I have to go and cook. Not quite sure, ratatouille or something like that. I have one friend coming to supper with me, which is very pleasurable. And tomorrow I must gird my loins because the social services from Hammersmith and Fulham, the welfare state, are coming to interview me, as they may be incapacitated for up to 3 boring weeks, gazing at the ground. Goodbye for now.